Trinity Homes, Sherlock Homesters, what's going on? I'm so excited to be back with you for another installment of our discussion of reading Moses, seeing Jesus. Mount Sinai and the Sinaitic Covenant didn't start a new side quest or plan B for the mission of God, where all of the sudden there could be salvation by works. Sinai is a continuation of what God has promised through Adam, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's this single promise of grace that God is unfolding through a series of covenants, showing him progressively restoring creation to himself. The Mosaic covenant continues this story of God's victory over sin and death. And he's showing us that he wants to reveal this victory through a chosen people, but that will require standards. The standards are given in the context of grace. Each time God starts to tell the people what he wants them to do and how he wants them to live, he begins with his faithfulness in his grace. Exodus 19:4-6, he says, "You yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." Then in Exodus 20, the beginning of the 10 Commandments, it says, "And God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery." It always starts with how God has kept his side of the covenant. The Jewish ordering of the 10 Commandments differs from our common Christian ordering. We just read it, the law begins, and God spoke all these words. And then it doesn't say, thou shalt not this, thou shalt not this. It says, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt and out of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. See, God is protecting our relationship, and he is helping us see first his goodness and redemption and deliverance to us. And then he asks us to live bound to him in relationship to him. The last commandment shows this as well. He tells us not to covet. Do not covet is the only law that you can't externally observe and enforce. You never know if someone's coveting or not. But if someone covets, it then shows up by breaking the other commandments. He takes the first commandment and the last commandment and kind of puts them together. Remember your God and do not covet. It will keep you from violating the other 8. See, if I covet, then I'll steal, or I'll kill, or I'll overwork myself and not keep the Sabbath. The parallel for this is Psalm 23:1. The Lord is my shepherd. Remember God. I shall not want. I don't need to covet because I remembered who God is and what he has done for me. So here's the first question today. Why is it important to remember each day that God has kept his promises to me? We're back, question 2. This might be the hardest question we've had in Trinity Homes yet. On Sunday, we decoded what the calf, the golden calf, represented in the ancient Near East. There are many idols that took on the form of a young bull or a calf, and they represented thunder or fertility, things people couldn't provide for themselves, weather and children and flocks. So the Israelites took their first opportunity when Moses, the representative of God, was out of the picture. They took their first opportunity to reimagine and manipulate and fashion God into a genie for the things they can't control themselves. They make a representation of Yahweh as a calf or a young bull, flocks, crops, kids, representing all these things they wanted for themselves. A God who just wants all your wealthiest dreams to come true. That's what the Israelites made. As soon as these people say the words, "These are your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt," Aaron immediately follows up with an attempt to syncretize the golden calf with the worship of Yahweh, to mix it all together. He says, tomorrow there will be a festival to the Lord. What? They make the golden calf, these are your gods? And then Aaron says, tomorrow will be a festival to the Lord? It's interesting what's happening here. People are trying to refashion and manipulate Yahweh into something that they can control and something that will please them. Our slave-freeing God cannot be broken down and fashioned into our fertility God, prosperity God, war God, political God, sports God, blessing God, serving our natural dreams. Jesus is not our prop to militarize or politicize however we choose. He is still the unexpected welcomer of the poor, oppressed, fatherless, foreigner, and widow. Here's the hardest question so far. How is God forming and fashioning you to be about His purposes instead of you forming and fashioning Him to serve your desires? We're back. We're going to talk about looking to gold instead of looking to God. Gold is shining and shimmering. It has glint and glimmer. It always catches our eye, and we are just psychologically prone towards drifting towards gold. Now, gold takes a lot of forms in our world: money, jewelry, glitter, crowns, prizes, even golden retrievers. And it represents a lot in our lives. For instance, it represents abundance and comfort, romance and desire, uniqueness and success, beauty and adoration, power and authority, and even stability and protection. None of those things are bad. They are rewards to enjoy, but they aren't the rewarder we embrace. The idols you worship will eat you alive. If you worship money, you will never have enough. If you worship beauty, you will always feel ugly. Power, you will feel weak and afraid, and you'll need more and more power over others to keep that fear at bay. If you worship your intellect, you will feel foolish and fraudulent, always afraid of being found out. If you worship your career, what starts as your dream job will slowly cost you more and more time until that job isn't serving you, you're serving it. If you worship sensuality, then you will feel relational shame and guilt after chasing your lusts. Emptiness instead of pleasure. And if you worship your kids, you might say, I don't worship my kids until someone criticizes them, and then your friendship is over. Or you may say, I'm not worshiping people pleasing, but if you say something mean to me, I will crumble and fall apart. So here's my question for you today. Maybe it's not jewelry, maybe you're not worshiping your golden retriever or a prize or a crown, but let me ask you this. What is one sneaky, under the radar idol that you see devouring people today? Okay, we're back, and here's another thought about looking to gold instead of looking to God. Exodus 32:2-3 is when Aaron answers the people. Take off your gold earrings that your wives, sons, and daughters are wearing and bring them to me. So all the people took off their earrings and brought them to Aaron. So interesting that the Israelites made gods out of what they already have. Our culture tells us to do this today. Idolatry just really flows from self-worship. What you already have is holy. What you already have is divine and worthy and sufficient. That's what our culture says. And we all drift towards that self-validation, narratives of self-deliverance, and dependence on self-leadership, worshiping what comes off of us and what comes out of us rather than who is above us. The world is always throwing itself a parade of self-celebration and pride. My question to you is, what is a modern day version of taking off our gold and making it our God?